Welcome to a review of the FDC Classic Championship, where we're using cars from either 2009 or 2010 across 15 races of 5 laps each, hosting 3 races each day. I wanted to keep it short and sweet, so we did one-shot qualifying, and I didn't want people worrying about finding setups, so I disabled the setups. I took pole position on round 1, but had a collision with Beaumont in the opening lap. I think he was waiting for me afterwards, as he was still behind me by the time I got going again. For a moment I thought Cake was trying to let me through here, so I mistakenly thought that he was the one that hit me, and was trying to give a position back. So unfortunately I was down to last from first, and ended up getting a harsh 2-second time penalty. Naples won that first race from third on the grid in his Ferrari, with Darrow a second and a half behind in his McLaren. There were no points for fastest lap. Beaumont took third, and me and Cake took fourth and fifth. I took pole position again for round 2. Naples changed car to the Brawn, and there was no rule against changing car, although my idea for the league was that people would pick a car and stick with it, seeing what they could do with it. The cars were not equal, but I thought it would be fun to try and get the most out of your car and see what happens. I won round 2 a couple of seconds ahead of Beaumont, with Darrow taking third, and DNFs for Cake and Naples. For round 3 it was Naples taking pole position. The cars seemed to run fine on mix 3. I had some experience with them, so I think I had a bit of an advantage. I'm not sure if I was better with them than anyone else, but I felt confident, and using medium traction control I could be consistent. Darrow had a terminal crash on the end of lap 1. Beaumont was in trouble on lap 4. A bit later Naples was also in trouble. So while the Brawns were fast, again it was McLaren winning the race, with Naples in second and Beaumont in third. The game had given Keg a 2003 Williams, so by the rules I had to disqualify his result. On day 2 it was Naples taking pole for the first of our next 3 races. Darrow had put in a good lap, taking second on the grid. As the league progressed there were more people joining in, and a lot of people changed cars at various points. I stuck with the McLaren and tried to get as much as I could out of it. There was a little bit of trouble just after turn 1. And some more drama on lap 2. Naples went on to win the race, and I finished just behind Beaumont to take third. Dorian took fourth in his Ferrari, ahead of PSM in another Ferrari. Darrow finished 6th, and TJD was 7th. Naples was on good form, taking pole in a Brawn for round 5, with TJD also in a Brawn just behind. I'd managed to go third fastest in the McLaren. The start was straightforward, but by lap 3 TJD was facing the wrong way. And at some point PSM had lost a front wing. Naples won it, and I have a passion for Monaco, so I was happy to take second, with Beaumont rounding off the podium in third. Dorian was 4th again, with Darrow 5th, TJD 6th, and the damaged Ferrari of PSM in 7th. For the last race of day 2 it was TJD sneaking onto pole position just ahead of Naples. Darrow got the best of me in a McLaren, and Dorian was the fastest Ferrari in 5th. The start was clean and Darrow gave me a good squeeze, which I guess he's entitled to do. I kept up with him but couldn't get past. Overtaking proved difficult without the help of DRS or KERS. Things got spicy on lap 2 as Beaumont got through, and I wondered if he'd be able to then get past Darrow. I believe the Brawn had some speed on the straights, but Beaumont seemed to give the positions back, possibly because his overtake on Darrow was a bit forceful. Dorian's Ferrari joined us, so it seemed we were all trying to get past Darrow. I knew I could easily lose 2 positions if I couldn't get through, so I stayed close and hoped that I could slip by, but it backfired on lap 3. Sometimes a bit of aggression or risk pays off, sometimes it doesn't. There's not much point if you never try though. I was aiming to get to the front, but this time around it was TJD and Dorian in 1st and 2nd, Dorian in particular doing well in the Ferrari. Beaumont was 3rd, Naples 4th, Darrow 5th, me 6th, and PSM 7th. The first race of day 3 saw RF joining us and getting straight onto the front row. I don't think he had much practice, but him still putting that Ferrari on pole was impressive. There was unfortunate contact between Naples and TJD on lap 1. I did review the incidents after each race, but mostly it was just a fun league with some innocent mistakes. Naples and RF battled over first position, allowing me to stay near them, but I knew they were both talented, so it was unlikely that I'd gain much out of it. Unfortunately for RF, he had an automatic time penalty which demoted him to second, Naples inheriting the race win. I believe I'm right in saying that they both left the track, but it was RF getting the penalty. Either way, I think they were both impressive, battling out at the front. I finished a couple of seconds down in third, with Draco 4th, Mondorian 5th, Darrow 6th, PSM 7th, TJD 8th, and Beaumont 9th. By round 8 there were a lot of brawns, but it was RF on pole again in the Ferrari, just ahead of Naples in the brawn. I qualified third in the McLaren and saw RF getting a bad start. I ran deep at the hairpin and lost a position to Beaumont. But it wasn't long before there was an opportunity to take back third. I suspect that the brawns may have been fast at that track, but overtaking is difficult. We finished the race in that order, with Naples winning ahead of RF. Beaumont was 4th, Darrow 5th, Mondorian 6th, PSM 7th, Draco 8th and TJD 9th. The last quali of day 3 was again won by RF, this time taking pole in a Red Bull, and it was Mondorian in second with a brawn. The racing was a little bit sticky on this one. One of the biggest moments was at turn 4, where Beaumont wanted to be on the outside, but there's only really space for one car there. Then Darrow got a wheel on that dangerous curb. Later TJD was off track. I let myself get distracted by that, as it had happened in a previous league, so I lost a position but soon found myself back and forth. I don't know if TJD slowed down, as the brawn is usually good in the straights. There was a rule against exceeding track limits, but it kept being broken and nobody complained, so I ended up discarding the rule. Although overtakes made from being off track would still be penalised. Mondorian was sideways on the end of lap 2, I'm not sure what happened, but I was now up into third. I had a train of brawns behind me trying to get through, and TJD was ahead for the moment. He was generous, leaving space for me at turn 3. Something ended up happening to TJD, so it was Darrow running in 4th at the end. Again, Naples won it ahead of RF, and I took another podium. Beaumont was 5th, PSM 6th, Draco 7th, TJD 8th, and a retirement for Mondorian. Naples kicked off day 4 by placing his brawn on pole, with RF a couple of tenths behind in the McLaren. This time around I was the slowest McLaren and had struggled in time trial. I didn't practice much, so we did a lot of races in a short time, but I did want to put a couple of laps into each track. Starting at the back, I wanted to avoid any trouble. I felt like this was a track for the brawns and pretty much just wanted to survive and pick up points. If any brawns crashed or spun, then I could drive past them. The first car in trouble turned out to be Darrow's McLaren. I ended up giving TJD a friendly bump at turn 8. Things quickly got messy out of turn 10. I finished the race in 5th. RF managed to set the fastest lap in the McLaren, marginally ahead of Naples in the brawn, but it was Naples winning the race with RF a second behind. Coloured Lonely joined us, finally getting his first podium in an FDC race. Mondorian finished ahead of me in 4th, Darrow 6th, PSM 7th and TJD 8th. Everyone else used the brawn for round 11. Naples took pole ahead of RF. I'm guessing people wanted to use the brawn for its straight line speed. Mondorian got dropped from the race just after qualifying. Darrow had a good start and rocketed away into the battle for the lead. The front three were scrapping while I watched in my McLaren. I wondered if the brawn was faster than my McLaren. Their battling must have slowed them down. I had TJD creeping up. The slipstream behind Darrow may have favoured TJD into lap 2. I remained in 4th after the chicane, but still had pressure from the brawn behind me. RF was slow ahead, but quickly picked up the pace again. Cars ran wide on the exit of turn 10, but I didn't want to exceed the track limits to follow the slipstream. Again, TJD crept up on my left with a bit more speed. and again I remained in 4th after the chicane. TJD eventually found his way through, but had a couple of automatic penalties, so despite him crossing the line in 4th, he ended up 5th. Naples took another win, Darrow matched his best result in 2nd, RF took 3rd, and PSM was 6th. The Red Bull was fastest in the time trial for Singapore, although without setups it might not have worked so well. Both Red Bulls on the round 12 qualifying session were disqualified, and we saw Darrow taking his first pole position with half a second to TJD. The only non-brawn to qualify was my McLaren in 3rd. TJD was sideways at the start and gave me a friendly nudge. So I was in 2nd following Darrow and had a lot of pressure from RF behind me. Overtaking proved to be impossible, so on lap 3 we were still in that 3-car train. The only chance for a change in the order was from someone making a mistake. I ran deep and ended up on the curb, sending my McLaren sideways, which released RF's Red Bull to go after Darrow's brawn. By the end, Darrow had also encountered some trouble and was further back with me. So the Red Bulls did find their way to the front in the end, with RF and Mondorian in 1st and 2nd, beating the brawns that had started ahead of them. Darrow was 3rd, yours truly 4th, PSM 5th, TJD 6th, and Squeaky joined us but I believe had a crash. RF took pole in a brawn for the start of our final day. I put my McLaren alongside him in 2nd. It was difficult to tell exactly which car was good at which track, but I didn't worry about that as I stuck with my McLaren. I got a slightly better start than RF and took the lead. But RF was consistent and got back through in his brawn. RF was obviously very talented, so I just focused on holding on to 2nd. We finished in that order, and I wasn't too far behind, but RF's fastest lap was a full 2nd ahead of mine. TJD took 3rd, Mondorian another solid 4th, Naples 5th, Beaumont 6th, PSM 7th, and Keg 8th. Round 14 saw another pole for RF, this time with TJD in 2nd, although Naples was close in 3rd. I was down the order and gave Tulsa a bump at turn 1. I'm not sure what happened, but I was up into 5th. Someone tried coming back onto the track where there wasn't space. The rest of the race was pretty uneventful. Only 7 seconds covered the top 5. I think everyone had a lot of experience by that point. RF won a couple of seconds ahead of Naples, but Naples just took the fastest lap. Mondorian took his 3rd podium, TJD went 4th, yours truly 5th, Beaumont 6th, Keg 7th, PSM less than a second behind in 8th, and Tulsa in 9th. Our final race saw RF taking pole again, and I went 2nd fastest. We both had a top 10 in one of the time trial leaderboards for Abu Dhabi. Again I got a slightly better start, but not enough to take the lead this time. That last race was a bit of an anticlimax, as there was no drama, but I enjoyed it. The cars were fun, the racing was clean, there wasn't too much competitive pressure, so it was easy to enjoy. Mondorian might not have had much experience with those cars, but he warmed up by the end, taking another podium. It was RF winning it, 3 seconds ahead of me. Naples was 4th, Tulsa 5th, TJD 6th, Beaumont 7th, PSM 8th, and Keg 9th. On the scoreboard, Squeaky joined us for a round in 13th. Tulsa joined us at the end in 12th. Coloured only took a podium. Draco went 10th. Keg joined a few races, going 9th. PSM driving the Ferrari and Brawn went 8th with 80 points. TJD sticking with the Brawn took 106 points with 2 podiums including a race win from pole. Mondorian tried 3 cars, taking 4 podiums and 134 points, which placed him 6th. Beaumont took 6 podiums, 142 points, and went 5th in his Brawn. Darrow swapping between the McLaren and Brawn went 4th with 144 points, with 4 podiums and 1 pole. RF, despite joining late, had impressively taken 187 points to go 3rd, putting all 4 cars on the podium, never finishing off the podium in any of his 9 races. He took 6 poles and 4 wins. Yours truly in 2nd in the McLaren with 9 podiums, a couple of poles and a couple of wins to take 228 points. And of course it was Naples taking 10 podiums, 5 poles, 8 race wins, taking the championship with a lead of 52 points. So that was our fun classic championship, and Naples is a really nice guy, so I was very happy to see him win the championship. I hope everyone enjoyed it as much as I did. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.